In the days of youth, the Elfkin sailed from distant lands across the great sea, their gleaming towers atop war mammoths striking fear into all who beheld them. With great joy they conquered and enslaved mankind, driving the feared trollkin into the forests, and the cunning dwarfkin into the depths of the earth. Yet despite their dominion over humanity, the Elfkin dwindled while mankind flourished. Though blessed with near immortality, the elves deemed themselves cursed, betrayed by gods who favored their slaves. Jealous gods turned away from their pride. As mankind multiplied and their own power waned, the hearts of the Elfkin grew cold. A conspiracy took root. Priests donned robes of endings, seeking destruction rather than ignominy. The priests sang the songs of unmaking, sacrificing countless slaves atop dreaded cigarettes to pacify the gods. They razed temples, defaced statues, and erased all mention of divine names. At dawn's approach, the King of Kings cursed the land. His dark chant resounded as the blade fell, bearing the accursed head into the earth. Thus cursed, great waves swallowed cities, leaving only barren highlands and mountains. Survivors, hunted like prey, were herded into villages by the Elfkin, who now ruled from formidable towers without fear. The Elfkin, their once radiant hues faded, shunned the sun that scorched their pale skin. Even some consumed humans to assert dominance. Days grew colder, the land yielded little, and no gods were invoked. Forgotten deities retreated, awaiting a voice to call upon them once more. Much blood was spilled over the remaining lands. Once brothers, elves bitter rivals, their armies locked in conflict. Descendants of kings now governed mere villages. Trollkin roamed further. Dwarves lurked in crevices, and ghouls haunted the desolate land. The dead stirred as spectral beings that took shape. No respite came for mankind. The cursed land sought to rid itself of clinging mortals. The mocking moon bore witness to man's suffering, yearning for the dawn's light. From unknown lands emerged a new people, tracing the path of their wandering god. Their offerings stirred the forsaken gods, who entered dreams with promises of blessings. Now, rise as a god. Guide your chosen to glory in this blighted land. Who among you can raise the ultimate champion in your name? For great deeds await thee. So I found this guy on Twitter, and this guy's artwork is what really grabbed me. So hopefully the intro, you guys really like it hooked you, because going further into what this man has built is really fascinating. The fact that it's like based kind of off like a Bronze Age setting, I really like. It has like very tribalistic forms of fighting, because you guys are in, like, you control a warband. It's a tabletop strategy game. And now there's no factions. I'm assuming that players are going to be factions, but the setting has it set up where it's Bronze Age. Very few people are able to get it, and the tin and copper to make that is super far away. And it really shows that, these societies are really not doing well. I'm assuming a lot of factions use bones and stone, and the wealthier ones that are able to make it use bronze. From the backstory, it is extremely brutal, as you guys can see, and as the artwork shows, very nihilistic, to the point that they are so decadent and so self-destructive, they literally kill their own gods that favor mankind more instead of them. I would love to see how far that gets delved into, because that is so fascinating. How much you can do with that is just fantastic, and I hope more people see this so that he can like just flesh this out even more, because so far this is great. I absolutely love this. This is fantastic. And here's the best thing. So like these elves are kind of like Spartans, because if you know anything about Spartans, is that their entire mythology was based off, we invaded this land, we enslaved the natives, do not let them rise up. And he takes this to the like longest degree, as anybody that knows history, the Spartans they just did not reform whatsoever, and they just kept to their ways until they just became a tiny little village when Rome came around. And it's really nice seeing this, this fantasy setting, and then these elves are so long thinking, but they're so jealous and so haughty. They're so mad that their gods are not giving them kids, and that they're just like, you know what? Screw it. We're gonna burn it all down. Screw these guys. So it's gonna adds layers that I just love, and I cannot wait until he fleshes this out, because this is great. How they do it, how he describes them killing their gods, he literally describes, all right, the priests dress up in the times of ending. They then sacrifice so many slaves to literally make the gods over gluttoned. And after the whole thing, they then start killing off all the objects and idolatry and the names to all of them, so nobody knows who these guys are. It is fantastic. Like, I just love it. And how this is the craziest part. There's a guy, the emperor, the king of kings. So this is based off the Persian or like Assyrian or Babylonian, king of kings, essentially the emperor. He is so mad about the entire state of affairs that he begins cursing the gods and the land and everything, and then his retainer, like a Japanese samurai, just chops off his head and buries it into the ground, forever cursing the land. And then you have this Atlantis moment where it just floods the whole thing, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, so how the survivors, was it just guys on the frontier that were ruling these areas, and it was like, oh, the capital's gone? Like, did all the elves know this? Like, I just want to know more about this entire setting and society after just seeing this, like, absolutely suicidal society that just hates everything and wants to burn it all to the ground and screw all of you guys. It's never gonna get any better than this, and we knew what it was like, but it's changing and we don't like it, and therefore, because it's changing and we don't like it, and we're just gonna burn it all to the ground. It's like the most childish behavior with the most catastrophic consequences. Like, I love it. I don't know why. It's so bad. I love it. So yeah, all the survivors now live in mountainous and highlandish regions. So it's like Peruvian. It's like Peru. It's like the Incan Empire. It's like people. That's how far they live, and then it's all these like societies that live there. But it's still cursed. People, it's hard to have kids. It's hard to grow food. Like, it's not a good fucking time to be alive right now. It's so bad because they like, the depths of depravity these elves have just fallen into, that they are literally cursed by the sun, as my friends would say. It is so funny. They just,
It's like Gollum and the orcs, but they still look human. They still look like the elves, but they're just white, and they're just albinos. And I'm totally getting Elric vibes because of that. And they just they go into cannibalism, ritualistic cannibalism. We're gonna kill babies, stuff like that. It's just like the worst thing ever. And it's like everything that that the Old Testament described with the Philistinians. Like it's just like baby sacrifices and just everything that God would condone and just burn to the ground. This society still is around, even though they just destroyed something in the past. It's like you know what, we're not gonna kill all the males of this generation. You know what? We're just gonna burn this society to the ground. I just love it. I want to see the in-depth sorrow that made the society just want to make these actions and consequences. Because, like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, any of the elves that know about it, because, like, there's no elves left, because they all, like, all the survivors, they all killed each other for, like, petty land disputes. And any person that knew of the times beforehand, they're all dead, supposedly. And so all that's left is the elves that were born into the society. So I can only imagine the self-hatred that they have of like, it used to be good and now life is like this. But then they also are like scheming and plotting against each other about how do I fuck over my cousin? Like, that fucking asshole. It's just the most petty fucking reasons, and I just love it. It's amazing. This is fantastic. Oh yeah, and so yeah, like living in the region, the entire land's cursed, and yet for all this effort, the elves just fell into brutal infighting, as I said, and that collapsed everything into just even more, to the point where there's these things called villages, and it's not what you're thinking. It's like there's a giant tower that the elves live in, and then there's like a society of clans of human beings that live around them, and depending on how wealthy that society is, the taller the tower, they have bronze, stuff like that. There's more hierarchical and ways of doing life in this really harsh place. It's hard to grow food in a mountainous highland region. That makes a lot of sense. I get it. It sucks. But the elves wanted to destroy the world because we're not making babies. So I just like it. The fact that the world is so more hostile than it used to be. Like, it's so bad that the trollkin is amazing. I love these guys. I haven't seen the pictures of dwarves yet. And there's one picture of the dead walking around, which I will get to further, but it is fantastic about how hostile the world is, and I just love it. So yeah, this guy, I'm gonna butcher your name. I am so sorry. I got this from Twitter. This is his Twitter name. It's Einherjar Manga, and he does this thing of mixing the cultures and events from ancient history, which I absolutely love. So in his story, in his setting, there's an invading force that's coming from a distant land that is just like, decked out in metal. I'm assuming bronze. And it's like, it sounds like it's forming its own empire. And I'm getting kind of like, Hoplite, Assyrian, and then Sea Peoples vibes from that. And it's, fantastic. I can't wait until he develops that even further, because like I would love to have war bands, or like how would war bands of guys fighting each other go up against a giant empire that is like conquering mountainous regions. So depending if they have an Alexander the Great type of guy, you're kind of screwed if that's the case. Here's another interesting thing. So remember that cursed king, the cursed king that was, saying all those things that destroy the world out of pettiness. I don't know why. So people now worship him, and he's very spiteful. And what I love about this guy is literally in the lore book. This is what I got from his Patreon, which I will pull up. I'm not gonna pull up the pictures, but like he literally pulls off of Jewish myth, and like he has all the human beings that are surviving. The main like religion around it is that these human beings are the chosen people because they didn't die. So really like that. That's, gosh, oh boy, I like that. While he is also mixing gods like from Conan, like Grom. Like he mixes Grom from Conan because that guy is so indifferent. He literally only respects the strong. So he's mixing like the Jewish faith with that, and Grom as this petty idolatrous, like, you know, he's in the land, he's cursing, this earthquakes, there's all this stuff, and, you know, we got to make a sacrifice because you know, we want to go by. we're training, so quick, slit this girl's throat. We gotta get by. We gotta appease them. Get the earthquakes to stop. I really like it. I'm just like, still petty in the afterlife, even as you're worshipped as a god. Maybe that was the whole point the entire time. Who knows? Let's see how far this goes. Speaking of trading, in between each village, it is just filled with megafauna. Giant floating lizards, giant pterodactyls. You are screwed. I don't know how human beings are going to deal with that. There was one method this guy shows. I may show it in the video. I do not know, but it is fantastic and I love it. There's a lot of earthquakes, a lot of plague, and it is so bad that children are being born less and less. So, like, that doesn't sound great. I am noticing, like, you know, depending on how bad things get, I am worried he may get stuck in, like, the Warhammer 40k type of problem where it keeps getting worse and worse. And you're just writing yourself into a corner, and it's just like, well, things are getting worse and worse, so how do people bounce back from this? Because it's like, you know, my spurg of a brain is just thinking, okay, well, if people are being born less and less, the wheat is drying. Is it the end times? Oh my gosh, it is the end times. You know, is it bouncing back? Are human beings bouncing back? Or is it like literally just dying with a whimper, which is, you know, I really push on that theme, I would say. And yet people are still fighting each other. I really like it. It's great. I would love, like, because here's the thing, the area is still dotted with remnants of the old civilization. Like, there is a picture of boats and mammoths walking around next to it, where it's just like, those are huge, and the waves must have been so big that they just threw these things up on a mountain ridge where snow is now. Like, how catastrophic is this? It's really interesting. There's something I can't wait to see this guy delve into. So you're gonna see an image of what is essentially known as a magician, and everything, head to toe, is covered. You do not know who these people are, and nobody knows what these guys are, what they do, what race they are. Nobody knows who these guys are. So yeah, trade is an interesting thing, and how they do this. It is a year-long commitment, which, you know, makes sense for traders. If you hear any stories about the Silk Road, like, there's guys that are like years end. They are traveling around the world, and I don't know about you, but back then it was really bad, and so this guy is making it even worse. It's interesting. So, like, in the society, the guys that are these traders, it is a short life, but they bring their children because it's just like very beneficial but super dangerous. And anytime these guys come into a village, it is considered like a festival. Like, holy cow, there's a guy that's got stuff, you know, it's an adventurous, exciting life, you know, air quotes, exciting life. And you can get people that are like, hey, I want to be a part of this, and then they just, you know, they die from trolls or something like that. You know, they get picked off by a pterodactyl, or they're used as a means of payment to people that are like coming, like you know, sacrifices, stuff like that. You know, really interesting. I loved how to see how that, like, you know, stories coming from like a trader that's like you know, hey, I want to be a trader, and then like see how that goes for him. That would be a really interesting story. Here's another thing. So I said that there was the Walking Dead. There's Walking Dead zombies. People are dead. Yeah. So there is there is ancestor worship in the society, and the reason why is because of that. They don't want the dead to be walking around. I can understand why. That would be absolutely horrifying. And yet, they... What's the best way of describing it? Like, they try to do everything they can to keep these people from staying... To keep these people in the damn ground, because it's like... You gotta say their name during a prayer. You gotta keep them under your house. You know, hey, there's a special room with all the corpses. That's great granddaddy Ukalesh, and you better say his name right, otherwise he's gonna haunt your ass. You know, I just love that. Yeah. So another interesting thing. It was probably the same thing with the elves, because you know the elves are just living so bloody long, but it's just like you don't want a wandering dead elf to be, you know, causing problems. Interesting thing though, the elves keep themselves alive. They're not immortal, but they do live a very long time. And an interesting thing about them is that they use pet snakes and their blood and other things to make a potion in order to extend their lives. So very few elves are born, and if they are, my god, that woman is going to be just deified in that village, because it's like, she's an elf, she made a baby, and it lived. Alright guys, we're making a statue. Like, this is just like, it does not happen, and this is, well, for the elves it's great. I don't know about humans, I think they're just kind of scared, which, you know, that's understandable. You know, so that's another, like, you know, I love how this guy like put in like, how does biology play into this? If elves are so screwed and human beings are just so scared, you know, rightfully so. So in this society, apparently the elves live lives of luxury and decadence still, some fucking how, but like they're also constantly scheming with one another. And it's gotta be like Game of Thrones on steroids, because it's just the amount of backstabbing and like, you know, we gotta follow the warband leader and all that type of stuff. It's crazy, because they just can't settle down. They can't be like, all right, guys, time to take a break. It's just, everything's a tool. God forbid what the man and wife's dynamic is between each other. God forbid they have a child together, and you know, like, if they're both constantly feuding between each other. Like, oh my gosh, somebody write a story about that. That would be great. You're gonna make millions. But yeah, dude, this gives me Elric of Melnibone vibes. Like this is just fantastic. These guys just absolutely disdain the other human beings and are so petty with one another that they're just like, you know, again, Game of Thrones on steroids. It's fantastic. I love this. But yeah, dude, I can see a lot being done in this universe. This guy has such a great foundation. When I was looking at this, I thought this was like a D&D RPG type of scenario, and it's actually a tabletop strategy, funny enough, where you literally just you can print out, if you go to his Patreon, give him some money, like $5 or $1. I don't remember which one exactly. You can build off and print off like your own little war band, and if you get your friends or like people that host this type of thing, which hopefully in the future there's more people that do that, like apparently like it's kind of like Warhammer 40k, I think. I'm not sure. I haven't really tried it out yet, but like I'm just fascinated by this setting that I would love to see more of it. Yeah, but like definitely this guy has so much working for him. The trolls. There's images of trolls, and I want to kill it. I absolutely adore the look they have. It is fantastic. I really like it, guys. Guys, I think you're gonna really like this shit. This is fucking amazing. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully this caught your interest like I did. Hopefully I see. I want to come back to this, but as like a video that's more well done than this. But I just think that you guys should really check it out if you have free time, because I want to see more of this, like this Incan Bronze Age dark fantasy of elves being absolute fucking cunts. And, you know, God forbid what happens to the dwarves. Like, there's some pictures of the dwarves, and I really like what I'm seeing, and I want to see what happens more. But, like, there's so much happening. I wonder what factions are going to spring up because of this. But, like, so far, this guy has got fucking gold, and I don't know how to shout to high heaven how much fun this could possibly be. But, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. But, yeah, take care, guys. Stay safe.